Here's the story of how my freshman year roommate bullied me to the point that I almost transferred out of my school. I really heavily debated telling the story, but at the same time, it's my story to tell, and she silenced me literally the entire time that I knew her. So I went to a college 3.5 hours away from my house, and when I first went there, I only knew a couple older people, and they weren't living in the freshman dorm, so I had to go random. I was given a random dorm. I got really lucky. My dorm was huge, and I was also given a random roommate. That roommate ended up dropping out within 5 days of us moving in. So now I am alone in a huge room, and my RA is starting to DM me and ask me, okay, so there's a lot of girls on your floor right now that aren't getting along with their roommates. Would you be willing to room with one of them? And I was like, no, I want the room to myself. At this point, it's about 2 to 3 weeks into college, and I had already made a friend group. None of these girls lived in the same quad that I was in. They lived on a different part of campus. One of which, she lived in a single that was in a suite. And now this is the roommate that this story's about. We're gonna call her Anna. Every single day, my RA is DMing me saying, okay, I'm looking for a new replacement for your roommate. Your room needs to be filled. It cannot be a single. And Anna is telling me and all my friends that we had already made that she hates her suite mates. They're being really rude to her. She's having a hard time because her suite was literally the size of a closet. All of us are getting along great. Anna seems to really want to leave this room, so I asked my RA if she can move into my room. By mid-September, Anna is officially living with me. We had a bunch of our guy friends help move her into my quad, into my room, and it seemed awesome. When she moved into my room, we were having a great time. I finally had someone to talk to almost 24/7. We had very similar class schedules. We were majoring in the same thing, so it seemed like we were really getting along great. And our friends that we all made, they would come to our room all the time. A lot of our friends were on sports teams, and we had the room that was really close to the staircase to lead to the athletic center, so everyone would stop by. It was so much fun. We even got a hamster together, and that hamster lived for almost 4 years. I'm the kind of friend where if I have a friendship with someone, we can make fun of each other here and there, but it's not to the point that it becomes insult humor. Because I don't find insult humor funny. I find it extremely hurtful when it continues over and over again. So when Anna moved into my room, she automatically started pointing out the fact that like all of her items were pretty dark colored, navy blue, dark green, black, and my stuff was all pink and purple because I love pink and purple. She made it a point to tell me that like my stuff was too girly and that she has the cooler stuff because it's darker and more mysterious. That was the first moment where I was like, why does it matter? Why are you making a point to make fun of my things with the guys around? She would specifically really make fun of me when there was boys around. At first I thought that this was a joke, so I was like, oh, I don't know, I just bought it at Marshall's, whatever. Now fast forward to October, and these snide remarks start becoming so consistent that I start to pick up on the fact that she's just being extremely mean to me. Anna had a long-term boyfriend that she had from back home. I was single, and I was just having the college experience, so whenever I would go out, and Anna prided herself on the fact that she hated going out. So I would go out with the other girls in our friend group and I would have a great time. I was really enjoying the fact that I was able to go party with them. I really liked, having the college experience. And Anna would make fun of me for that. She would wake up the next morning after I would go out and she'd be like, all right, what nonsense did you cause last night? Or she would love to say like, oh, what ugly boy gave you interest or attention last night? And I would stand up to her and then she would just come back with something so nasty. Like one time she told me that my hair looked terrible in a ponytail and I actually didn't wear my hair in a ponytail for way after this friendship ended. But I told her, listen, like that's not funny. I actually really worked hard on this hairstyle. And she goes, yeah, well, that's why your mom doesn't love you. Like, what? The most hurtful thing that this girl did was comment on the fact that her relationship with her mother was so much better than mine with my mother. Because at this point, me and my mom were just really not seeing eye to eye. I really didn't call her often. We just had a little bit of distance. This was something extremely personal that I did share with Anna because she lived with me and she saw me, upset about the situation. We had a lot of heart-to-heart moments where I would tell her something personal and then she would go around and turn it around against me. So I shared with her that I was having a hard time with my mom, and she specifically went out of her way in front of the entire friend group when they were over in my room to point out that her mom was coming into town and they were going to have a wine night. My parents did not let me drink underage. In front of everyone, she goes, yeah, well, my mom loves me. We're having a wine night. Your mom hates you and she doesn't let you do anything. This was so insanely hurtful to me. And I know that in this situation, everyone else around was just like, what? Standing up to this girl just made this situation so much worse, and every time that I voiced my opinion on what she was saying, she would just come back with something so much nastier. Anytime I would go out or I had like a low-cut top, it was always, oh my god, your boobs are so small, you're so hideous, no one's ever gonna love you because you have no boobs. And she would put me down almost every single time that I wanted to go out. End of October was parents' weekend, and I decided to invite my parents and my little brother. I said, listen, there's supposed to be a football game, there's supposed to be a lot of fun, all of my friends are inviting their parents, and I specifically made it a point to tell Anna, we need to get all the alcohol out of the room. My parents are very against it. They will be really upset if they see it in the room. I drilled this into this girl's head. I think for the entire week leading up to parents' weekend, I was telling her every single day, make sure we're limiting it, make sure we're getting it out. And she would just come back and be like, oh my god, you're so annoying, you've already said this 30 times. Finally, it's the day before parents' weekend, and Anna's mom and dad, I believe, came into town. I met them both. They were so sweet. So I don't know how they raised this absolute monster, but I deep cleaned the room. Anna cleaned a little bit. I was usually the one that was doing most of the cleaning. I made sure that all of the visible alcohol that I could find was out of the room and gone. Anna loved these giant pink Smirnoff screwdrivers, and she had a mini fridge that she contributed to the room, and it was on my side of the room. I didn't use it often, but it was still there, and it was my mistake for not checking it, because when my parents showed up, they start going through my room. They think that it's, a really nice setup. This was their first time seeing my room since they moved me in before the previous roommate dropped out. So the room was completely different than the last time that they saw it. And one of the first things my dad does is open up the mini fridge. And what does he find? Anna's screwdriver right in the middle. When I saw that, I just had a feeling that there was malicious intent behind her leaving that bottle in there, because I made it so unbelievably clear that we needed to take all of it out. And it was still in there. And I know for a fact she was the one that cleaned out the fridge because it was technically her fridge. And my parents lost their minds. I explained to them that it wasn't mine. They were extremely upset with me, and parents' weekend was completely destroyed. My mom was really upset with me to the point that she almost barely spoke to me. And finally, after a couple of hours of us just being really tense and just awkward around each other, I told them to go home. So after they left, we got into a really big argument. It was a very nasty end of the situation. I confronted Anna and I told her, listen, why was this in there? I told you so many times to get it out. And yes, I could have checked, but it completely slipped my mind. I was focusing on the rest of the room. She blew it back in my face and said, well, it's your fault for not checking it since you were so obsessed with all of it being out of the room. And then she made fun of my parents and I for getting into an argument and told me how great of a time she's having with her mom and how I will never have that because my parents don't love me. And then this bullying just escalated into a daily offense. I had a communal shower in my hall where I lived, and I would specifically go into that shower and spend over 2 hours in it when I knew that Anna was in our room. I was trying to avoid her, and then she would spin it on me and tell all the guys that we were friends with that I stink so bad that I have to take such long showers. And everyone would make fun of me for taking these long showers, which it only takes me about 10 minutes to really shower. I was sitting in there for over 2 hours, sometimes upwards of 3, just to avoid her. So Thanksgiving break is coming up. At this point, we're at the end of November, and I'm freaking out the weeks leading up to it because I don't want to go home. Like I said, me and my parents were in tense waters. We weren't really getting along, so I did not want to go home for Thanksgiving break, but my school mandates you to go home. So as I'm voicing my concerns to Anna and telling her that I'm really stressed out to go home, she would just laugh at me and say, well, you're just a terrible daughter because who wouldn't want to see their family for Thanksgiving? And then she would tell me how excited she is for Thanksgiving, how her family's so perfect, how she hates college and how she hates the dorm food and how she is so excited to get real food, and just telling me how awesome her life is and just how perfect it's going to be for Thanksgiving, rubbing it in my face. We go home for Thanksgiving. I had a terrible time. I just wanted to go back to college almost the entire time. And when I came back, she was so angry to see me. She's like, oh my God, the break was so short. I'm really upset to see you. I don't want to look at you. Go away. Basically just shooing me away. And I was just so excited to be back. So she diminished my happiness almost. Leading up to Christmas break, we start hearing about COVID because my freshman year, I was in college the fall 2019 going into spring 2020. That was my freshman year. Once again, Christmas break is coming up now, and I'm super upset because I don't want to go home. I was in this one psychology class with Anna, except we had different times, but the same professor, and I was doing absolutely terrible in this class. This professor was insanely harsh. So when she would ask me what I got on a test and we would compare our scores, she would call me stupid and that I'm going to fail out of college and not amount to anything. This girl was actually insane now that I'm telling the story. Honestly, the break was really nice because I actually got to spend some time at home. I worked a little bit, and as much as I didn't like spending time at home, I was away from Anna. So we come back, and now speculations of COVID are really starting to get more and more concerning. I'm telling everyone, oh my gosh, I am so nervous for COVID. I really don't want this to happen. I don't want to get sent home. I hate going home. Once again, Anna's coming in saying that I'm a terrible person. And finally, it's the weekend before COVID sends us all home. I was dying to go out with the other girls in our friend group and some of the guys, and I was ready to go, and Anna literally did not let me leave the room. She made me stay in, and to this day, I regret not standing up to her. But I was scared of her, and I don't blame myself. Anna left before anyone else, and she literally just threw all of her things into a truck and left. No goodbye, no nothing. I had to text her to tell her, hey, listen, did you leave? She was like, yeah, I'm actually on my way home. And she turned around and finally came back to say goodbye. She was just gonna up and leave and not say anything. I never saw her again after that. I ended up cursing her out over Snapchat a couple weeks later because she was being absolutely rude to me and I just had it. She sent me a text recently trying to rekindle and tell me how much she misses me. I didn't answer, and that's where the story ends.